How does structured real estate investing actually work behind the scenes? Successful real estate investing is not just about finding opportunities. It's about knowing how to manage risk, protect capital, and navigate changing market conditions with discipline and strategy. In this video, we'll uncover the advanced level of business structuring behind the GHL India Asset, exploring how liquidity risks are managed, how market cycles are handled, how valuation accuracy is ensured, how legal risks are minimized, and how projects are structured to navigate delays and changing economic conditions. This is where real estate investing moves beyond assumptions and into strategy. So, let's understand how it actually works. One, how do you manage liquidity risk in unsold properties? At GHL India Asset, liquidity risk is managed through a combination of strategic acquisition discipline, market cycle positioning, exit focused deal selection, structured buyer network engagement. The core principle is we prioritize exit visibility before acquisition itself. How does GHL manage liquidity risk? 1. Buying below market value. All properties are typically acquired at significant discounts to fair market value. This creates pricing flexibility, margin of safety, a better ability to exit even during slower markets. 2. Focus on high transaction markets. GHL primarily operates in Tier 2 growth cities, locations with rising demand and transaction velocity. Higher market activity improves liquidity potential. 3. Strong buyer network. We have large buyer agent ecosystem, active developer and investor outreach. This reduces dependence on passive market demand. 4. Exit planning before entry. Before acquiring a property, GHL evaluates likely buyer categories, resale demand, exit pricing feasibility, liquidity timelines. This reduces speculative exposure. 5. Flexible exit strategies. If market conditions slow temporarily, exit timelines may be adjusted. Pricing strategies may be optimized. Alternate buyer segments may be targeted. The focus will always remain on capital preservation and efficient monetization. 6. Cycle-based investing. By entering during recovery phases and exiting during expansion phases, GHL aims to reduce the probability of holding assets during weak liquidity environments. Important clarification. Liquidity risk is managed through disciplined acquisition and planned exits, not hope-based appreciation. We reduce liquidity risk by buying below market value, focusing on high demand locations, and planning exits before acquisition. Our first risk assessment is not, can we buy? It is, can we exit efficiently? In real estate, liquidity is created through structure, pricing, and timing. 2. What is your historical project success rate? Since launching our first SPV over 4.5 years ago, GHL India Asset has maintained a 100% track record in servicing monthly returns and capital repayments with zero defaults to date. What does success rate mean in our model? For us, project success is evaluated across multiple parameters. 1. Capital protection, timely repayment of investor capital. Asset-backed security maintenance. 2. Return servicing, consistency in monthly payout obligations. A structured cash flow management. 3. Execution efficiency, successful acquisition, legal clearance, exit completion within planned cycles. 4. Risk management, no cross-project contagion, structured SPV isolation, controlled downside exposure. Why we avoid overstating performance? Real estate is influenced by market cycles, liquidity conditions, regulatory changes, transaction timing. So, while our track record has remained strong, we continue to focus on conservative structuring, disciplined acquisitions, controlled risk management, rather than making unrealistic guarantees. Important clarification. Our objective is not just high returns. It is sustainable and disciplined execution. Since our first SPV launch, we've maintained a 100% repayment track record with zero defaults. Track record builds confidence. Business structure protects investors. While our historical performance has been strong, all investments carry market and execution risk. 3. How do macroeconomic changes impact operations? Macroeconomic conditions play an important role in real estate markets and at GHL India Asset. These factors are continuously monitored as part of our investment and risk management process. As highlighted in our investment framework, each acquisition undergoes a detailed PESTLE analysis, which includes evaluating economic and regulatory conditions before capital deployment. Key macroeconomic factors we monitor: 1. Interest rate environment. Changes in interest rates can influence real estate demand, buyer affordability, transaction velocity, funding availability. Higher interest rates may temporarily slow market activity. 2. Inflation. Inflation impacts land pricing, construction input costs, buyer sentiment. However, real estate often acts as a partial inflation hedge over longer cycles. 3. Economic growth. Strong economic activity generally increases employment rate, property demand, investor participation, commercial expansion, whereas economic slowdowns may affect transaction speed. 4. Government policies and regulation. Policies related to infrastructure development, urban planning, registration norms, taxation can directly impact market opportunities and valuations. 5. Liquidity conditions. Macroeconomic stress can temporarily reduce buyer liquidity, developer activity, transaction momentum. This is why liquidity visibility is evaluated before acquisition itself. How does GHL respond to market changes? Rather than depending on aggressive appreciation assumptions, GHL focuses on buying below market value, maintaining security-backed structures, selecting high-demand locations, structuring flexible exit timelines. This helps improve resilience during changing economic conditions. Why Tier 2 markets matter? Tier 2 cities often have lower entry costs, offer stronger relative growth potential, show earlier cycle expansion opportunities. This can create more favorable risk-reward dynamics during broader market shifts. Important clarification: macroeconomic changes influence timing and liquidity, which is why our model prioritizes disciplined acquisition and downside protection. Interest rates, inflation, and economic cycles affect real estate. So we focus on disciplined buying, market timing, and downside protection. We cannot control market cycles, but we can control how we structure risk around them. Our strategy is designed to adapt to market cycles rather than depend on perfect conditions. 4. How is valuation accuracy ensured before purchase and sale? At GHL India Asset, valuation accuracy is ensured through a combination of market analysis, government-aligned valuation practices, legal verification, transaction benchmarking, exit feasibility assessment. Every property undergoes structured due diligence and valuation review before acquisition. How does GHL ensure valuation accuracy? 1. Government-aligned valuation. Before acquisition, properties are evaluated using prevailing market rates, comparable transactions, government guideline values, professional valuation benchmarks. This helps establish a realistic fair market value. 2. Comparable market analysis. We study nearby transaction values, demand trends, buyer activity, infrastructure growth. This prevents unrealistic pricing assumptions. 3. Discounted acquisition discipline. Our strategy focuses on acquiring assets significantly below assessed market value. This creates margin of safety, better downside protection, more flexible exit options. 4. Legal and zoning validation. Valuation is not based on price alone. We also verify land use compliance, encumbrance status, regulatory approvals, future development potential. This avoids inflated pricing on legally weak assets. 5. Exit-based pricing logic. Before acquisition itself, we assess potential buyer categories, expected resale demand, liquidity timelines. Valuation is linked to realistic exit potential, not speculation. Important clarification. We focus on realizable market value, not theoretical appreciation. We use market benchmarking, government-aligned valuation, legal verification, and exit analysis to ensure disciplined pricing. Our valuation process is designed to reduce optimism bias and improve downside protection. In real estate, valuation protects capital before returns are created. 5. What happens if projects get delayed? In real estate, project delays can occur due to factors such as market liquidity conditions, buyer transaction timelines, regulatory or documentation processes, economic slowdowns. At GHL India Asset, the objective is not to assume delays will never happen, but to structure projects in a way that helps manage and mitigate delay related risks. How does GHL manage delay risk? 1. Acquisition below market value. As the properties are acquired at significant discounts to fair market value, this creates pricing flexibility, better downside protection, more room for strategic exits even during slower markets. 2. Exit visibility before entry. Before acquisition, we evaluate buyer demand, transaction velocity, developer interest, liquidity potential. This reduces the probability of prolonged holding periods. 3. Independent SPV structure. Each project is isolated within its own SPV, separate asset, separate cash flow, separate investor structure. Delays in one project do not impact other SPVs. 4. Flexible exit strategies. If timelines extend temporarily, exit strategies may be recalibrated. Alternate buyer segments may be targeted. Pricing strategy may be adjusted based on market conditions. The focus always remains on capital preservation and efficient monetization. 5. Investor communication. In delay scenarios, transparency becomes critical. GHL's approach is to communicate status updates, explain revised payout timelines where necessary, maintain structured investor servicing. This helps preserve trust and clarity among the investors. Important clarification. Real estate investments are linked to asset monetization timelines, so delays can affect payout schedules in certain situations. However, the business structure is designed with asset-backed security, trustee oversight, risk-isolated SPVs to improve investor protection during stress scenarios. We don't eliminate market risk. We structure for resilience during market delays. If a project gets delayed, the focus shifts to protecting capital, optimizing exits, and maintaining transparent investor communication. Our focus during delays is not forced selling. It is value-preserving execution. Delays are managed through structure, discipline, and strategic exits, not panic decisions. 6. How do you manage legal or title-related risks in properties? At GHL India Asset, managing legal and title-related risk is one of the most critical parts of the investment process. Before any acquisition is finalized, every property undergoes a structured legal due diligence process focused on ownership clarity, document verification, encumbrance review, regulatory validation, transaction enforceability. The properties are acquired only after thorough due diligence. Master plan zoning verification, validation from relevant planning authorities. How does GHL manage legal and title risk? 1. Title verification. We verify chain of ownership, parent documents, registration records, seller authority to transfer the property. This ensures legally transferable ownership. 2. Encumbrance and litigation checks. Properties are screened for existing loans or charges, court disputes, claims or legal restrictions, third-party rights. This prevents the acquisition of legally compromised assets. 3. Zoning and regulatory validation. Master plan zoning is reviewed. Town and country planning validations are checked. This ensures the asset aligns with permitted land use and development potential. 4. Documentation rectification. Where possible, issues such as missing records, minor legal inconsistencies, documentation gaps may be resolved before acquisition. This can also create value enhancement opportunities. 5. Independent legal review. legal professionals are involved in document scrutiny, agreement drafting, transaction structuring, security creation. This helps improve enforceability and investor protection. 6. Security creation through trustee. Once acquired, the properties are mortgaged in favor of the debenture trustee. Charges are registered with MCA. This adds another layer of legal control and investor security. Important clarification: legal risk can never be assumed to be zero in real estate. However, GHL's approach is to identify risks early, avoid high-risk acquisitions, structure transactions conservatively. Our goal is not just to buy valuable property, but legally enforceable property. Before acquisition, we verify title, encumbrances, zoning approval, and legal enforceability to reduce property-related risk. We would rather reject a profitable-looking deal than compromise on legal clarity. In real estate, legal clarity protects capital before appreciation creates returns. Before focusing on returns, it's important to understand the foundation of the investment itself. In the next section, we'll break down the fundamentals of GHL India Assets investment model, including secured NCDs, minimum investment amount, expected returns, payout structure, and lock-in periods. Because smart investing starts with understanding the foundation behind the investment. Hold tight, the next episode goes deeper.